is money. I got hours in the bank, and if I take it out in cash, that's some hours in the bank. Protect my mental like I'm in a prison shower with a shank. I keep my mind sharp, guarded in a dark place, despite the bar.
So, season 1, episode 3, and I got a very special guest. Obviously, all my guests are special. Let them know who you are.
Yo, CJ, do Instagram vegan reviews, work football manager, QA lead. Yeah, we'll get into it.
Mr. Vegan himself. So obviously, like, I like to give the little backstory to anyone watching, like with whoever I get on, because whoever I get on is well, so far has like been quite a close friend of mine, and so that means I actually get the perspective of seeing the whole journey. You get me? But you are probably my longest friend in terms of the length of time we've known each other. So like my perspective is like very different, like because I've seen it. You get me? But yeah, I've been like super excited to get you on here because I just feel like you've patterned life, bro. Like I feel like you've patterned life in a whole next way. Like and obviously this podcast is about celebrating people like yourself. You get me? So yeah, man, let's get into it. Like you said, QA lead at FM, vegan reviews. So I want to take it back to the beginning to like leaving school times. Did you or could you ever vision that this is where like your life might have ended up? Like,
nah. Like, what's that, 16, 17?
Yeah.
So I always knew I wanted to do something in sport, do something like probably football, because I always like kicking ball, you know, we played football and stuff. But this is the thing, I didn't know like gaming, especially like gaming what I'm in now, because obviously I went into football coaching initially.
Yeah.
But then I'm transitioned into gaming. I didn't know gaming was a job. People did. Like, if you knew me at 16, 17. If you told me, oh, you know, you can like play Football Manager as a job and get paid, and that's your career.
I was thinking this today.
So it's a myth.
I was like, like we're 90s babies, innit? Like in the early 2000s, and when we're like 8, 9, 10, then when we're like getting to teenage years, even then, like I'd never met anyone that was in the gaming industry, like actually had a job, like being a gamer or working on games. It was always something. It's like talking about being a footballer.
Yeah, almost.
It's like something that like you might have a dream of as a kid, but actually getting there, you're thinking it's probably, you know, I need to go for something a bit more realistic. I feel like you've taken steps. Like you said, you started football and then went into gaming. But I feel like even from football and even from leaving school, you were someone that was career driven. Like you've had jobs, but you were actively taking steps to have a career. And there's a big difference between jobs and career.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision? Did you always think like, I want a career as opposed to like just a job?
The way I saw it is I always wanted a career in something I enjoyed. So like I always wanted to like have the idea that I'm going to work and I'm not like hating what I'm doing. Because you spend so much, like I clocked this from early, like year 11 times. I was thinking you spend 40 hours a week at your job. I can't be spending 40 hours a week feeling like it's school. Like that's dead. So I need to do something that I'm actually enjoying. And there wasn't really too many things that I like enjoyed and had a passion for that seemed accessible, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So especially at that age. So like football was probably the first thing I wanted to get into, and I knew like from early I wanted to do coaching, or I wanted to do something with football, but obviously not playing. I'm not going to make it in Prem, so let me try to do something in the industry. And like I made the decision quite early. Like when I left college, I went straight into Arsenal gap year where we worked voluntary, unpaid for 9 months.
But even before at college,
college I did sports science. I did sports science, but I was a myth in college. My attendance wasn't good. Like education and that structure just wasn't for me. Yeah. Like the coaching side of college, like we used to do sports coaching. I loved it. Like distinction on it. But when it came to like theory and writing and learning about knees and joints and stuff, that wasn't for me. Yeah. So I've never really, even though I can understand it, I've never really had the passion for like the theory side of things. Yeah. I've always wanted to do the practical side of things. So like that's why when I had the chance to leave college and get into something I enjoyed, I didn't mind working 9 months unpaid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working at Arsenal, so I was like, I just looked at it as an opportunity, and I always looked at things as, if you keep working somewhere and you keep kind of putting, I don't know, like credit in the bank on something, eventually it'll add up in a way. So yeah, that was kind of the path. I didn't know if it would work or not, but that was kind of the plan I had in my head.
Yeah.
And it ended up working out well.
I'm not gonna lie, like, because we took our FA level 1 coaching badge together.
Yeah.
But these times, I don't even know why I did it. Like, I just did it, like, to do it, to say, yeah, I've done it. But like, I took it with you and James, and both of you actually went on to get into like football orientated worlds, like coaching and stuff. I don't know what I was playing at, but you obviously had a plan from that early, innit? So Arsenal then, so that was like your entry point, which is kind of a mad entry point, like, to be fair. Like, obviously the club you support, unfortunately. But so how did you get that what was it, like
It's like, they call it the gap year.
Gap year.
It's like a 9-month placement where they train you up to learn how to coach. So you're spending most of the days there, like, training like you're a player, but you're being coached by coaches. And then at the end of the session, you write down everything you've did and everything you've learned. And it's a good way to train up, because you're doing the session as a player. You know how it comes across as a player.
Yeah.
You know what's good, what's bad about the session, and then you take that, and then they place you in schools. Then you end up doing school coaching, because a lot of football coaching is community coaching.
Yeah.
Most people, that's what they do. It's where they started from. Even like big coaches like Brendan Rodgers and loads of like big coaches now, that's where they started, in community coaching, coaching schools, coaching like half-term soccer clubs and all of that. So they train you up to do that. Then you get school placements, and then from there you kind of build up and do your own thing.
Speaking of, like, you say like managers like Brendan Rodgers and that, was there any point where you thought like you wanted to go up that route, like the football manager route?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought it would be. Like, once I kind of got my foot, not even in the door really, but kind of saw the end of the hallway of the door of like football coach, and I was like, yeah, this is me, innit? Like, this is me for the rest of my life. And kind of, I thought I had a good advantage because I was coming into it so young. I was like 18. Like, even when we did that gap year, most people that were taking it had just finished uni. There were maybe like 3 or 4 of us. James, you mentioned, my boy Ross as well. Few of us that was like young and like 18. But like for us, it was harder because like our friends and our age mates, they were doing uni, getting student loans.
Yeah.
We were broke, just come out of college, like unpaid. So it was like, it was peak. And I remember then, like, I was trying to get money from like signing on. You wasn't allowed to because I was doing too many voluntary hours a week.
Serious.
So you couldn't. I just had no income. Like, I was literally just broke for months on end. Like, even traveling, because obviously I'm from West, I'm traveling up to North to do school. I worked in school in Camden, and like that was all my money. I had to like finesse a student oyster, like, just to be able to afford it over time. And like, it was tough, man. Like, I remember I worked in a school in, I think it was Highgate, maybe somewhere in North, and it was like December and it snowed, and like weather was bad, it was snowing. I had to be in the school for 8:30 every day.
These times you're carrying like
carrying football, carrying kit, all of that. So I'm like, I'm not going in the snow on the whatever train for 8:30. So I text the school, let them know I'm not coming in. They told Arsenal I refused to come in. Arsenal was like, you can't go back to the school. And I'm like 18 and like having to deal with that, thinking like, this is mad. Like, I'm just trying to get like a little opportunity. And then even that, like, a lot of stuff happens like this. Like, I'm a big believer in like everything happening for a reason in your life, innit? Like, even when it's like a hardship, or even when like you get shagged, basically, like, it usually happens for a reason.
Yep, I agree.
So like that was like one of my earliest examples of it, where that whole gap year, the whole point of it, the second half of the year, is they send you abroad. Obviously, Arsenal is a huge club. They've got soccer schools all over the world. People go to all different countries, go to Africa, Asia, and coach in these abroad soccer schools. So they was like, oh, you can't go. So I was meant to... Because the school kicked me out.
Oh, really?
But the school kicked me out because I didn't turn up. I didn't turn up because I had no money to get there in the snow. So, like, even just stuff like that, it's, like, mad. And I'm, like, 18 at this point. Like, obviously, when I look back at it as an adult, I'm like, that's a bit of a mad way to do the 18-year-old. But from that, I ended up working at Arsenal more. I ended up doing their soccer schools at their training ground, taking, like, the under-8s. And then, like, I was, like, one of the best coaches there for that age group. And then that put me. I got more hands-on experience actually doing what I was going to do, like moving on further down my career. So yeah, it worked out good for me, man. I ended up like by the end of it, like they not loved me, but yeah, it went well.
That's good that they like actually like kept you there rather than say, right, like, well, you can't go abroad with everyone else, so it ends here, kind of thing.
Yeah. So maybe they even had that plan, innit? Maybe they thought he might not be ready for that, but like long term, you can maybe work with him, give him a bit more one-on-one kind of coaching. But yeah, man, it's just interesting kind of how things pattern themselves out. But that'll be my earliest experience of it.
So after Arsenal, what came first? Was it, because I remember you were working for a football coaching company, or you set up your own?
Yeah. So like I went after Arsenal, I didn't want to stay there. I wanted to go somewhere like low, if you know what I mean, and like work my way up, get more experience basically. So I worked for a company called Little Kickers. They coach 2 to 5 year olds, which is in hindsight mad, isn't it? Like it was so mad.
How do you even coach 2-year-olds?
It's you just like get them to kick a ball. The parents get gassed, really and truly. That's all it is. But it was good experience, man. Like for actual coaching, like, I learned so many skills there, like timekeeping, communication skills, patience, like things that would like pay off later down the road.
Yeah.
But I was like a natural at that, and I was in there for maybe a year and a bit, and I was like, no, I want to get into like a proper club now. And then I went from there. I went to Fulham, and that's when I was like starting my Fulham journey.
So I remember like just when you were doing the Little Kickers though, they're not being difficult times, but like times you're having to do the same stuff. You're traveling.
Yeah.
You got the bag of footballs. Like you're going to all these random areas and stuff like that. But I just remember like you were kind of like, just, yeah, like this is what I got to do. But I think at the time, like I wasn't even sure myself, like you definitely wanted to be a coach. I don't remember ever having a discussion where you was like, yeah, like this is what I'm going to do. I just remember you doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So like, it's only now when I look back in hindsight and I look at your journey, I'm like, okay, like everything you did like had a purpose. It kind of like opened the next door for you. Do you know what I mean? Whereas at the time when we're that age, I'm just getting jobs, whatever jobs I can get, everyone else is. And for me, like you were doing the same, but you were doing it within a certain industry. But I didn't realize like this could be a career for you or anything like that until you got the job at Fulham. And then I thought, oh shit, like, okay, like you get me, Fulham Academy and stuff. So how did you get that job, and what was like your role?
So kind of just to touch on what you said about the whole career thing, like I did look at it like that. Like I can't lie and be like, oh, I knew it would pay off. But in my head, I was thinking, surely if I just keep grinding, and I was seeing other people older than me at the same starting point as me. So my mentality was, I'm 19, 20. If I'm 19, 20 and I'm starting off here putting in the work, this guy here who's 28 at the same position, surely by the time I'm 28, I'll be at a better position than he is, kind of thing. So I was always just thinking, surely if I just put in the work, it'll pay off, which it don't always work like that for people. There's loads of people in loads of industries that put in the work and it don't pay off for them. So a little bit of it is luck, a lot of it is networking and putting yourself out there, which I've kind of always been quite natural at, and I'd encourage anyone to do that in any industry, man. You just got to network and meet people. But the Fulham thing,
both, innit? Like networking, but then also having that mindset. Like if there's anyone that is of that age watching, like I would say, like look at your surroundings, look at who's the same age as you, or look at who's 10 years older than you and what positions they're in within that industry that you're in, and 100%. Say, all right, cool. By the time I'm his age, like I know I can definitely, if I just work hard, I can get to a certain level within this company. But like you said, part of it is luck and actually networking and putting in the work. So yeah, that's actually a very good mindset to have.
Yeah, but there's definitely even at that age, I didn't even realize it was such a positive mindset even. I was just doing it because I guess that's me as a person. But with Fulham, I was trying to get into like a professional club for a while. Obviously, you just got that kind of, obviously starting at Arsenal, seeing like nice hallways, nice stuff, innit? Yeah. You want nice training tracks, you want a nice, that's why still now I just wear any club tracksuit. If I like the club, like Brentford, I like the club, I'll wear their stuff, innit? Like, for me, that are my work clothes for however long, I've been just used to that. So with Fulham, I was applying for so many clubs. Really, I wanted like AFC Wimbledon or Charlton. I wanted a Football League club. I wanted someone lower down the pyramid where I could build myself up is what I was going for.
Yeah.
But I was just getting nothing, man. I was applying like for any role I could basically at the club. And then I went into Fulham as a community coach. So like what I said, where you're coaching schools, coaching after school stuff. And yeah, man, big them up. Their community department, it was, I don't know what it's like now, current day, but at that time it was like top 3 in the country. I think Everton had maybe number 1 and maybe another one of the northern clubs. Yeah. And then Fulham like did loads in the community. They're one of the only clubs that let their community coaches coach with the academy coaches and go to the academy. So like I'd go into the academy and just watch sessions 2-3 days a week. Like you was allowed there any time. It was a trek. It was in like Motspur Park, which is kind of like Surrey past Wimbledon, like that way. Yeah. So it was far for me, but I just get trained there, go there from like 2 p.m, stay till like 6-7 p.m.
So I was going to say, as you know, just to clarify, a community coach for a club is someone that's like representing the club.
Yeah.
Taking like coaching classes or whatever at schools.
Typically it's like you go into schools or you go into so you see that you have half term soccer clubs. And like they'll go there and they'll get coached by the Fulham coaches. Every club's got one. Yeah. But yeah, that would be like what it is. But most academy coaches would have started there, if you know what I mean. And then from there you kind of transition into being a Fulham academy coach.
Yeah. Okay. And were you getting paid at Fulham?
Yeah. So I was getting paid decent money, to be fair. Like, well, I'll be candid now, more 'cause I'm not doing the job, but coaching in England, this is probably why I didn't stay in the industry long term. Coaching in England, the pay just isn't good. Yeah. Like there's no other way to put it. Like the pay in Germany, Belgium, Holland, decent. You're getting solid like 30k a year jobs. Like I think I read, maybe misquoted, shout in the comments, innit? I think average wage for a coach at a professional club is like 15k in England.
Really?
Like I was on like maybe £15 an hour at Fulham, but yeah, and you're getting like, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours a week.
This is what I was going to say.
So competitive.
Like, the hours a week is the main crux of it. Like you need to kind of, the inflation in how much you're getting paid needs to go up.
Exactly.
Because the hours that you're getting are generally, you're not going to get like 40-hour weeks.
Nah, no, impossible. So it's like, that was a big struggle. I was always trying to work out kind of how to maximize income, and like kind of like you said, how people would get like normal jobs. Like loads of times I'd do like 3 months here working somewhere just to like keep up the money, especially in December. So like, December's like notoriously a bad month for coaching. Like it's hard, obviously weather, sessions get called off. Like, I have done the most random December jobs. Like I've worked in John Lewis one Christmas. I worked in like Ripley's World of Adventures one Christmas. Like just any job I could take, retail or wherever, like over December, or just like alongside the coaching, I would just have to do. So
just to keep the P's up.
Then eventually, like just to move it forward. But we'll come back to, actually before we leave Fulham. So like you asked about what my role was there. Yeah. So I was there for 4 years in total. But the second 2 years I was there, I kind of decided I want to do scouting, because when I was coaching, I noticed I had a good eye for players, and I'd be like to the senior coaches or whatever, he's a good player kind of thing. Like, then they'd be like, yeah, I agree. And I got a couple player trials like that. And I was like, why am I not like doing this? So literally we had like one talk where the scouts in Fulham came in and like did a presentation kind of thing. I just stayed afterwards, said that, yo, I want to get into this. I want to do scouting. Then they just changed my contract. And that's when I went from that Fulham community to Fulham Football Club. So I was officially part of the club there. And with that, I kind of had more freeness, like more freedom in my hours. So I was able to take another job. That's when I coached for a company called CS Rangers. They're like West London based in Acton, but they coach private schools. Yeah. And then that's when I started making like decent money. So that I was coaching private schools, then still doing the same thing, still doing after school, still doing half terms, but I was doing like private school, like double the money of what I was on before. School, innit? And then that's when I started like being able to do a bit more with the coaching and stuff like that.
Alongside the scouting.
Alongside scouting for Fulham, yeah.
Is that normal, like for someone to like, you know, be a community coach and then kind of like be a scout? Like, is it that fluid within clubs at that level?
Probably not. I'd say Fulham were a good club, and I'd like to think that the people there kind of did like me. Like, they knew that I was on job in it. They saw me there at the training ground and saw that I was like on it. So they probably looked at me and thought, yeah, this guy's on it. We'll give him the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, in hindsight, anyway. But I don't think so. Like, nowadays, you can move between like academy roles and like data roles. So there's a lot more like data analysis kind of stuff going on nowadays. But then nobody I knew was doing it. Like, nobody else that was in my group of like coaches was really doing that. But I had 2 coaching jobs. Like, that's not even what you're meant to be doing, really and truly. But I was like coaching at like private schools and Fulham same time. Like, then that would like supplement the income. So that kind of worked out for me.
Yeah.
But it was still like crazy hours.
It's mad hours, but it was just a necessity for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Time. Then you went from Opta. I was going to touch on Opta, but I know that anyone that's watching wants us to get to FM like, at the end of the day. So we'll touch on FM, but there's something else we're going to touch on after, and then we'll go back to FM. Quickly, Football Manager. Now, from when we were younger, we would bang out LMA Manager,
Classic.
Championship Manager, Football Manager. And for me, I'm not going to lie, like, they were some of the best years of my life. I ain't going to lie. Like, I couldn't wait. Like, obviously, kicking ball, you know, actually kicking ball, I love that. But there's something about the concept of being able to manage your own football team that just grasps fans of football around the world. And I think that's why, like, Football Manager is such a staple in the football community. But I'm not going to lie, never in a million years did I think anyone I would know would ever get into that position. And I've bragged about you a lot to people because I'm like, I remember when your name was first in the credits. I put it on Facebook, like Facebook days. I'm like, like CJ Ramson there in the credits. Like, I couldn't believe it. So, I mean, and when I think back to when we were kids, like, we were just known for like PlayStation, innit? We had friends on Badness, we had friends doing whatever, and I even remember one specific occasion bumping into someone who was on that stuff, and he was still a good friend of ours, and he's like, what you lot going to do? Play PlayStation? As if it was like a disc kind of thing. And I got to credit your mum as well, because more time, like, you know, she's just happy we're indoors. She just let us, you know, play games and do what we want to do, but we're indoors, and it's now actually led to something for you. And I think that's something that parents in this generation can grasp, because there's a lot of kids and people making money off the gaming industry. But back when we were kids, it was kind of like you're wasting your time kind of thing, but at least you're not on the roads. Do you know what I mean? So how did you even get the job? I think this is what everyone wants to know, because not everyone can just rock up to Football Manager, hand in their CV and work for them. So how did this come about?
Appreciate the words, innit? It is a bit of a mad one, don't get me wrong. I think for the first 2 months I was there, like, I'd walk in, see the big FM logo. What am I doing here? This is mad. Like, what? I'm going in to go play FM? This is mad. But so I kind of came to the end of the coaching road, and I was like, you know what? It's bare cold. Like, I'm here coaching, wearing bare layers, like having to do all these kids that are just running around. I don't want to do this no more. It was fun. I did it for like 5-6 years, but I want a office job, something still in football, but something stable. So I had a bit of a madness to leave the job I was at, because they didn't want to let me go, but managed to get out of the job I was doing with the private schools. And then I applied for, basically, I was like, if I'm going to work in the office, I want to do something at a company that I think is sick. So I applied at Opta, another company called Football Radar. So another thing that you can do for people that want jobs in football. All these betting companies, they get their odds from companies that pay people to watch football. So you watch football all day, you say, oh, this team in the Japanese league is this good, this team in whatever league is this good, and that's where they get the odds from.
That's where they get the odds from.
That's where they get the odds. So there are quite a few people at FM that used to do that kind of role. So I applied for one of those, but you needed mad maths, and maths is not me in it. So I didn't get that. I got the Opta job. That was still to this day the hardest job I've ever done. You're basically, I know we're not going to talk about it, but you're basically logging live events with a 15-second delay. And every button on a keyboard is something different. So
Like
one's
a
a long
pass,
pass, one but more detail. So one's long pass, one's header, one's headed clearance, one's everything in it. So that was just long, and I was there for like a month, and then the FM story is a bit of an interesting one. It's worth telling the story. So there's a event every year, and I recommend anyone to go to this event. It's called Kick It Out, Raise Your Game. So you know Kick It Out Racism?
Yeah.
They do an event at the Emirates every year called Raise Your Game, where it's basically all these people from the football industry, so the managers, coaches, all sorts, people that run ticket, like front of ticket houses, all jobs you can imagine in football. It's like almost like speed dating. So you get like 15 minutes with all these people, sit down, chat to them. So I went to that as a coach thinking, how can I get a job in football that isn't coaching? One of my guys, shout out my man, he put me onto it. I was working with him as just an unpaid scout.
Yeah.
He'd send me clips of players, like the most random players, like Lanzini's brother in Argentina.
Yeah.
What do you think of him? Like, just sending me all these clips. Like, I was just doing that just to get experience scouting, because I was thinking scouting is something I still wanted to do. And anyway, so I went to this event. I see Football Manager on the side of it with like a little stool. I'm like, I play Football Manager. What you lot doing here? It's like me being me. Like I said, like, you got a network, you got to go to people. I went up to them. I'm like, oh, what you guys doing here? They're like, we're hiring for testers. I was like, what do you mean testers? Like, what, to play the game and get paid? They're like, yeah. I was like, mad. All right, cool. Take my details now, innit? Like, take my details. Didn't hear nothing for like 2-3 months. Like, to the point where I'd accepted Opta, done training at Opta for a month.
Yeah.
Started working there, and then just got an email for an interview. And then went to the interview, got the job after like a week. But obviously it helped. I had the coaching background, I had a football manager background. And like you said, and like I always say, everything happened for a reason. We spent our whole childhood playing Football Manager. So when they're asking me questions about the game, I know the game at the back of my hand. I've racked up 200-300 hours on this game every year. So I'm not there in the interview chatting shit about the game.
What are they asking you in the interview, and what are you giving examples of your actual seasons?
Yeah. Like in my cover letter, I started chatting about all my seasons. I was like, I took Portsmouth from League 2 to the Premier League. Like, I signed this player. I did like, what other cover letter are you gonna get away with that kind of thing? So I'm like, and even like now when I'm there, I see people apply and they don't talk about it in their cover letter. I'm like almost like they're shy.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you're coming here to work. Like, this is the only place people are trying to hear what you've done, innit?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, like when I was actually there, I was like, yeah, I've got this save, I use this player. And at that time, I can probably talk on it now because we don't do it like this anymore. But at that time, they show you a screenshot of a game, of like a squad sheet, and say like, find what's wrong. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. They just want to see how your mind works.
Yeah.
So I was just picking out mad niche things. I was like, I think I had the Arsenal squad. I'm like, Giroud wouldn't have 72% pass accuracy if he's playing in this role, because like, I'm just throwing.
You haven't even got the job. Like, this is just off your
just
playing
off
knowledge.
me, just how I'm playing. I'm like, they're clearly playing a 4-2-3-1, and their wingers, like, no winger has double-digit assists. You'd have more assists if I'm just throwing everything out there. But obviously, I think, don't get me wrong, I had the good coaching background and I had the good knowledge of the game, so that definitely helped me.
Yeah.
But then, I went into there as a QA tester. So QA tester is basically game tester, is what it's like the official title for it. So I went into there as a tester, and there's like different departments for the testing. So like a game like Football Manager, or most games, but Football Manager is what I'll use the example, is they'll have press conferences, news and media, tactics, then like all the different areas of the game. Then they'll have like general play test, where you literally just go and just play through the game and find whatever you find.
Bugs and stuff, like things that may
bugs,
be
like things that are wrong with it, like anything random, like anything, like you click to buy a player and like the price is wrong. Like someone's worth 100 mil when it should be worth 20 mil.
Yeah.
Or even like I'm pressing the delay button for a transfer and it doesn't come up. It's not delaying. Anything can be a bug. Even things that like don't work. So like skipping around a bit, but one random thing that I noticed when I first went in there is you'd get a bid for one of your players and you get, say, like 6 bids on the screen.
Yeah.
And there was no way to just like reject them all at the same time. So I was like, put a button in for reject all.
They didn't have that when you joined.
And, like, even now I play the game and I see that, I'm like, that was me. Like, I was like, how could
that's mad. Like.
But like just things like that. So like, but I'll just log in loads of match bugs because obviously my background was in coaching. So I'm playing matches, I'm like logging bugs like players aren't transitioning from set piece quick enough and stuff like that. And they're like, all right, cool, we're going to move this guy to the match team. So then I ended up working on the match team where you literally just play matches all day, every day, and just find like what we call AI bugs. So like anything from like the fullbacks aren't overlapping at the right time to the DMs not screening the back four in the right position. And I was just trying to use all my coaching knowledge and all my football knowledge to kind of improve the game. And and I went in there on a 3-month contract, then ended up staying 18 months. So yeah, man, it was good.
Mad. And that's something that needs to be highlighted as well. Like, when it comes to like this job, it's not just like you actually get to just sit there and play at your own leisure.
Yeah.
It can be quite intense because you're actually having to play through seasons and look for certain different things. So you may find enjoyment from that if that's like, you know, your angle and that's something you find fun. But if you play Football Manager for your own leisure, something like that can actually be like really intense, and that's a lot of screen time. So I was going to ask you what your daily hours consisted of, like, and what were your weekly hours? How long are you spending in front of a screen having to like find these bugs and stuff?
No, it's a good question. So one thing I actually started doing last year is I made like, not a promise, that's a bit heavy, but I said to myself, I'm going to stop playing down my job. I got into a habit of when people say Football Manager, I'm like, oh yeah, man, just play games all day. It's so fun. Yeah. When it's like, it's deeper than that, and it's a lot more than that. So it's still a 40-hour contract, still full-time work. I'll probably spend 35 of those hours playing the match engine, playing matches. One rule we have almost on our team is just never get attached to your save, because you're probably going to have to start a new save.
Yeah.
Or it will skew you're seeing, innit? You're seeing a goal scored against you, and you're like, should I log that as a bug? Or like little own goal, you're like, oh, should I let that go? But you can't. You just have to just see it like blank. So I don't like kind of get invested. I'm almost start a new save every day or every couple of days. I start as a new team play again. I play it like that. But
is there specific things that you're asked to look for? Because to just like say, all right, go play and log any bugs, like you said, like with the reject all offers or whatever, like there's certain things that if you're playing, you might not come across those bugs because you haven't needed to reject any offers yet. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you can't be asked to, well, I would assume you can't be asked to play like 5-6 seasons until you eventually have to reject an offer or something like that. Obviously, you reject offers quite a lot, but anything of that, do you know what I'm trying to say? So is there a set thing where they're like, all right, play this season and look for players not transitioning, or look for a bug within the press conferences? Or
so like I said, obviously there's different areas, so the different mini sub teams, they'll all have their own kind of areas that they're focusing on. But like I can only talk for what I do, so I'm on the match team. Like if anyone plays the game
specific to the match,
so we'll have like a mini list of stuff that we're focusing on. So like even like this year just gone, our main focuses were pressing and the new wide centre-back role. Yeah. But mostly pressing, so we just had a load of different bugs for pressing. Strikers not pressing, midfielders not stepping out quick enough, fullbacks not pressing onto the winger quick enough. Yeah. So we're telling people play matches, but look for pressing. So you're setting up a tactic on high pressing, for instance. Yeah. So you're looking out for that kind of thing. But then like throughout the year, it can be anything. So even like today at work, we log bugs from set pieces to throw-ins to strikers not shooting back across the goal when they have the opportunity, like hitting at the near post instead of the far post too often. There's so many different, because it's football, and like, there's so many different variables in football. But we'll always have a focus, but then outside of that focus, which might be like 10 different things, we'll have another 150 that we have open that we're looking at all times.
Okay, that sounds crazy. Like, I know it's like a dream job for many, but the actual like realities of the job just sound proper intense. And like this is, so you mentioned about hours as well, like this is something common across the whole games industry, and to be honest, FM's quite good with it, but they call it crunch. So leading up to the release of the game, like anyone that plays it knows it comes out in November every year. The 3 months leading up to that, and it's slowed down now, but when I joined, which would have been 2016, it was like I was working 11 to 11 for like a month straight. Because there's just so much you need to get in. Like we'll get what we call new builds. So say if you're playing, saying how it works, but say if you're playing like build number 10 and then you're waiting for build number 11 that has fixes to the one-on-one finishing. Then build number 11 comes in. Your job as a tester is to test that build, log all the issues with it and send it back to the coders. We don't do coding. We work with the coders. Coders, they don't understand football like the testers do.
but they know how to do the code to make it happen. So we are testing it for the coding, and we got to log all these issues, timestamp them, get all of the files done, all the video screen records, then send it back to the coders for them to fix, then send it back to us, and we say if it's fixed or not with the new build, and that's what the job is every day. But obviously, when you're working to deadlines and you know the game's coming out, you be doing crazy hours, like, just so the company don't get mad at me. We don't do those hours no more. Like crunch. Yeah, we got a good thing with that now. But yeah, when I started, I was working mad hours, like 11 to 11 every day.
Yeah.
And like now, that's why I wear blue light glasses now, because like you asked about that screen time. I'm racking up crazy screen time. I'm coming home on the tube and my eyes are absolutely killing me.
Yeah.
Like I've been staring at a screen, and a game like Football Manager, you're following a little dot around the screen, and that's not good for your eyes.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. So definitely anyone that does work in games or even works on screens, man, I recommend anyone get blue light glasses. That's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, and that's not even an exaggeration. Because yeah, man, it's definitely, I used to get mad eye strain, eye cramps, eye twitches, all that stuff. And obviously in my spare time, I'm playing games as well.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not really getting a break from it. But yeah, the hours are intense. Like there's a lot of pressure. I'm somebody naturally that like thrives under pressure. Put me in a high pressure situation, I'm cool with it. Like you got 5 hours to do this, I kind of like that. But a lot of people, they're not really, I don't want to say they're not built for it, but like that's just not them naturally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people do struggle with that side of it and like kind of managing the time expectations. But it's a big part of the job. But
does it? You mentioned your spare time, you're playing it as well. Like, does it have a negative effect on your leisure time where you want to play it, but you've just spent like how many hours a week having to go through all these saves and seasons?
Oh, yeah, definitely, man, definitely. Like, when I first started, the first year, you're still kind of fresh in it. You're like, this is sick. My name's in the credits. I'm playing it. I probably didn't play it for like 2-3 years outside of work.
Really?
Like you're smashing it out, especially because I work on a match engine. So I'm playing matches all day, which is, I guess, like the most fun part of the game, innit? That's what you want to do. Like maybe if I was doing press conferences all day,
it'd be a bit different.
Then I'd be like, oh yeah, I get to play some matches now. But I'm playing the matches like all day, so I'm like, I don't want to go out of my out of work time and play more matches.
Jarring.
But that's just something that happens, man. But like with that being said, this year I've played, and this is probably the first year I've played like more than one season in a good few years. And like partly that's because I think this year version of the game is sick.
Yeah.
Like, and it's been fun to play. And kind of like I said about not getting invested in a save, how I would test before is I'd have a game. So I don't know, I'll be managing Newcastle. I'll manage them for like a season, not get mad invested, but keep the same team every day, log in, play with that team. Now, because I start with like a new team every couple of days, now when I do try to play through with the same team, it's like, it feels different.
Keeps
you know
it
what I mean?
fresh.
Like I hadn't made a transfer since I actually started playing the game properly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make transfer just for that reason, so I can actually play the game. Like I played the new game and I saw like the deadline day transfer thing. I was like, what's this, bro? I was like, we put this in the game, swear. This is sick. Got also focused in on just the match. So yeah, like it is definitely a thing. Like I remember we interviewed a new guy for the role, and he weren't talking to him too much, like give out who got the job. But like he plays it a lot in it, and he like used to play it a lot in his spare time and like do a lot of stuff, content around the game and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to play the game like all day, all night. It was like, bro, that ain't going to last long, innit? Like it was like, take it easy or you're going to burn yourself out. But yeah, it's something that's just natural, man. Natural, like.
It's mad.
It's just how it goes.
So obviously, I know, like from knowing you spent what, like 9 months or a year there when you on your first like spell?
Just under 18 months, like between, I don't know, probably like 12 months. Or so 14 months even, so.
Did you get headhunted, or were you kind of keeping your options open? Because after Football Manager, you then got a stint at Rockstar Games. So for those who don't know, Rockstar make GTA, what else? Red Dead Redemption. Big company.
Big titles, man. I'll probably put on my LinkedIn that I got headhunted. But what happened at FM is they let loads of people go. So
that was it.
Yeah, so it was December after release, and I was quite comfy there. I was, I'm not gonna lie, maybe a little bit complacent.
Yeah.
But I'd got comfortable in it. Then yeah, it wasn't just me. To be fair, it was like 20 people maybe got let go.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, like I'm not on my FM no more. So I was like, what? Didn't really know what to do. Got a random job at like some company tracking players' movement through matches. That's what I mean. So many jobs in football, man. Like, it was a calm paid job. It was like normal retail money. Literally go there and just like watch full matches of football and track players' movements.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to do something in gaming. Like, I found the gaming industry. I was like, gaming's sick, man. And I believe in gaming. Like, it's going to be the biggest industry.
Yeah.
It's already en route, but it's going to be bigger than film, bigger than TV, probably bigger than music one day, I believe. So I wanted to stay in that.
You're seeing that with esports and all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So yeah, I was kind of similar to when I like found FM. I was like, I'm just gonna pick my favorite games, pick my favorite studios, and just apply for them. And applied for a few places, didn't hear nothing back, and then I got offered an interview at Rockstar, and I kind of applied for Rockstar banter. Like, I was like, I think
you was gonna get
no, I was like, what, with my one job in gaming, like, and my no degree in gaming. I didn't go uni. I did football coaching.
Yeah.
So I was like, they ain't gonna hire me. Then they offered me an interview. Interviewed well. Then obviously that was up in Lincoln. So then I went up to Lincoln for my second interview. Interviewed well, and like I was 25, 26. Like, no kids, no like ties here. Like, I was like, if I'm ever going to have an opportunity to just move somewhere and do something just because I want to, this is going to be it, kind of thing. Like, so I thought, yeah, I might as well just go for it and see how it plays out.
What was that interview like? Because for anyone that wants to get in the gaming industry and stuff, like, my experience of interviews is very much, you know, like, tell us previous examples of, like, you know, safety hazards and this and that, and when you dealt with situations professionally. And but for a gaming interview, like, what are the questions? Like?
Funny, because the second half, or half the interview is that, innit? Is the typical
Standard
interview
procedure.
standard. The other half, it differs game to game. So like FM sometimes will make them watch a video of the game and pick out examples of bugs.
Yeah.
GTA, I didn't even know what it was going to be, but GTA, anyone that plays it, they made me play one of the missions from story mode.
Mad. In the interview?
In my interview, with like 3 guys watching me play the game, I'm just like, go and play it. And in my head, I'm thinking that I'm sick at GTA. I've finished story mode bare times. Like, I've got this in it. But I'm like, this
Still
is
pressure
mad,
though. Like, you can be as sick as you want at the game.
so
That's
like,
still
like,
pressure.
Yeah. So like, you know, I love driving on GTA things.
Yeah.
I love like driving the cars. Yeah. So I'm doing the drive, and in my head, I'm thinking, do not crash. Like, don't crash in it. And I did the drive clean.
Driving like a civilian on GTA,
Nah,
stopping
I
at the
was
red
whipping
lights.
it. Nah, man, I'm doing handbrake turns, everything, man. Everything. And then, like, didn't crash clean. I remember one of the guys who was interviewing me behind me was like, oh, that's a good drive, isn't it?
Serious?
And I was like, oh, okay, it actually mattered. And then I'm playing the mission, yeah. Now I'm just getting into the zone, innit? I'm just shooting the people, doing the mission. It was one of the ones, anyone that's played it will know, it's the one where you're playing as all 3 characters and you're scaling down that building.
Oh, yeah.
And like, you jump in the building, you got to switch characters and do all of that.
A good mission.
Yeah,
for
sick
an
mission,
interview,
innit?
yeah.
So I was doing that, and like, you was meant to get like 20 headshots. I'd forgotten, innit? I was just playing the game, having fun. And then like, there was like, oh, you missed a few headshots, but yeah, it was a good one. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. But nah, man, the interview was calm. Like, that was probably the most stressful part. The rest of it was just talking. Like, obviously I dropped in there, like, my name's CJ, innit? Like, San Andreas, like, that's me, by the way. Like, I live on the Grove as well. I live Grove Street, like, Grove, you get me? Had to throw all of that in. But yeah, I didn't expect to get that job, but I got it. So I was just like, YOLO, man, why not? Like, go up to Lincoln, fucking middle of nowhere.
Yeah, so you relocated to Lincoln, middle of nowhere. I remember you just like sending a video to the man them of like horse and carriage and that,
Literally.
like in the middle of the road,
Literally.
in the sticks.
Like, I didn't see another black person for 2.5 weeks. Like, not exaggeration.
That's lonely. That is a lonely existence.
Just countryside. And the maddest thing about the whole situation was I was working night shift at Rockstar. So they do day shift and they do night shift. But night shift was the more like, not prestigious, but the better role, because they've got countries all over the world, innit? And all of their QA testers, so their game testers, are all based in Lincoln. All of their developers are based at the main one, Rockstar North, in like Glasgow, Scotland. Then like the art teams in London, but then they got other testers in America. So they got like San Diego, another one in another American studio. So what we do, we play with the San Diego guys a lot.
Yeah.
And like, obviously the time, it made more sense for the night shift to play it. And like, something to do with where the builds came in, it was like night shift was a bit more like needed.
Yeah.
That was the better role to have, but it was mad. It was
Messed up
mad.
your
Like
body
my
clock.
average, not my average, my typical work thing was 9 p.m. to 7 a.m.
And your screen time again, banging
Yeah.
games.
Like, and like anyone, you know, GTA, it's intense, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
like FM where you're just like chilling and slapping space
Yeah,
bar,
yeah.
taking your time. GTA, it's intense.
And even GTA, like at your own leisure at home, you can pause it.
yeah,
Go
take break.
downstairs, make a juice.
Nah,
you
man,
get
it was
me?
a
You can't
lot.
do that at work.
And like, kind of like you asked about the FM stuff, like with GTA, why, as sick as it was, I was testing missions. So I must have played some missions over 100 times. And like, yeah, it's fun the first 10 times. But like, yeah, it's sick you're playing GTA, but you're playing the same mission for the 80th time in a month. And like, it got to the point where we know how to do it like off by heart.
Yeah, of course.
Like, easy peasy. There was some like proper fun times. It was like so sick. I'm so glad I did it. And I was there at the same time they were making Red Dead Redemption 2 as well.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm credited on both games.
Mad.
which
I
is-
didn't know you was credited on both
Yeah,
games.
credited on both, which is sick. I was worked on the development of both, log bugs on both. So like that was a sick thing for me, and that was like one of my biggest things for wanting to go Rockstar. Apart from Rockstar being like one of my favorite companies ever, is I know the clout from that game, and this is important. Even if you as a person don't care about clout, the industry and the world cares about clout,
Of
innit?
course.
So you need
any
to,
industry though,
any-
like
any-
they're
yeah,
looking at your
yeah, any.
resume, they're looking at where you've worked before,
Exactly.
what you've done at those jobs.
And I learned that from Arsenal. So when I was at Arsenal, I learned I could go to certain other places like, oh, I worked at Arsenal. They don't even ask me other questions. They're like, oh, cool, you worked at Arsenal. Good, right? Well, what can you do?
Yeah.
So I knew if I worked at GTA, had GTA on my CV, people would be like, oh, raw, GTA. And I was only there for maybe 3.5 months. But even that short time, it was enough to put out a whole update and like have that clout now. So when I go on my LinkedIn and people see Rockstar, they're like, oh, sick. And like, it is sick, don't get me wrong, but it's all about just taking the opportunity and just running with it, really.
And it's clearly worth it.
Yeah, man,
Where
definitely.
you're at now. Did you have to sign? They make you sign NDAs? then?
Mate, I was signing NDAs up to my eyes, man. I was NDA'd out, bro.
Serious?
Crazy. Like, I remember, can I even talk about this now? Kind of. I won't go mad. But a lot of the stuff about GTA 6 that's like come out now, that was like when I was there in 2018, they were testing GTA 6 on PS5. Not where I was, but in like Scotland.
Yeah.
It's like we was hearing that, and then one guy went into the files in it and found like the code name for GTA 6, which I ain't gonna say now, but it's a giveaway to like where the game's set, which is what was coming out on YouTube and stuff now. But didn't see him again.
Serious.
Didn't see him again.
This
like,
is a guy that's in your department.
yeah. Like
He
doing
wanted
my
to
kind
find
of role.
out a bit
He
more
wanted to find
about
out
it.
a bit more. Didn't see him again.
Can't be
So
doing
like,
that.
yeah, man, like they're crazy with NDAs. I remember one time they thought somebody was flying a drone outside the window. So we weren't allowed to open the curtains for like 2 weeks.
What?
I swear down. We weren't allowed to open the curtains. We're like, bro, we're like, we're working night shift.
Night
like,
shifts as
when
it
you
is.
saw the sun come up on night shift, it was a motivation,
Yeah.
innit? You're like, yeah, we're nearing the end kind of thing. Nah, bro. Come like casinos, like we're just locked in there. That's just playing.
Some PlayStation torture chamber.
Yeah, bro, yeah, trust me. But
mad.
it was a sick experience, man. It was sick. Like it was tough, and like I would never want to do it long term. And there was a lot of stuff that just wasn't that fun. Being a black boy from London, like being in Lincoln, I didn't have no trouble. It's a nice place, man. It's quiet. I'm a city boy, so
Yeah.
I'm not really for the quiet country life personally. But if that's what you want, it's lit for that. But yeah, man, it's not something I'd do again, but it's something that I'm happy I done. If that makes sense.
So after that, you end up back at Football Manager.
Yeah.
Is that because they wanted you back? Or
50%, yeah. 50% they wanted me back. Like, without being too gassed, I should never have been let go.
No.
But that weren't even just me. Like, they took back about 10 people who they'd let go 6 months prior. And I was, like, one of those people. And, like, I was obviously being a bit stubborn. Like I ain't going back. They let me go. And one of my boys who'd stayed the whole time, he was like, bro, you're in Lincoln, bro. What you doing, right? Like, bro, just come back to ends. Like, what you doing, bro? You can come back to FM. Like, they're telling me to tell you there's a job here for you if you want it, kind of thing. So then, like, eventually I was like, nah, he's right. Still, what am I doing? Like, it's not worth being stubborn in life, man. Sometimes you just got to swallow it and look at the bigger picture. So literally, it was mad. Like, I sent an email like, oh, yeah, I'm looking to come back to London soon. They literally said, yo, you can start on the 20th.
Mad.
No interview, no nothing, took me straight back. And then a month after I went back, I got a promotion to what I do now, QA lead, where I've got like a team of testers underneath me. And like, you asked me before about like what we look at and what the focus is like at each time.
Yeah.
So like, now I say what the focus is. So I will say, okay, this is the batch of bugs we're looking at for this week. This is what we need to fix. And yeah, that's been me since.
So you came back with a promotion, basically.
Yeah, but then like you said about the clout stuff, people say, "Oh my god, you went to Rockstar." Like, oh, what Rockstar? Like, you get me? So I came back like with a bit of clout rather than
This is what I'm saying, bruv. You've patterned life. Like, you patterned every step you've made has been a pattern, bro. Like, I respect it fully. And I've got to give credit to FM as well. Like, in terms of like how modern the company is. Obviously, I've come to the office with you.
Exactly.
And seen it. Like, there's like football kits up, framed everywhere.
Yeah, man.
Like, you got pool tables and this and that. Like, what was it, Xbox or PlayStation?
Both, bro, both.
Both. Like, it's mad, bruv. And obviously, you've got like the office set up as well. But it's like, it just looks like such a sick environment to work at. So I don't even blame you for going back. But since you've been back, bro, like, I would say like you've actively like stepped out. Not, I won't say like the face of Football Manager, because I know there's like so many different people doing different things. But you've been on podcasts, you've been on interviews. You had an interview with The Athletic as well, innit?
Yeah. So that was something I wanted to do. Like after kind of my first 6 months of being back, I kind of thought, you know what, let me actually try and embrace this. Like the position I'm in, let me see what more I can do, kind of thing. And like, I'm happy with speaking. I think that comes from coaching background.
Yeah.
Like when you're a coach, you got to speak every day. You like get used to it. So I don't mind really doing the speaking. And like especially in gaming, you don't get a lot of people that are that comfortable speaking publicly. So I think having someone there that does the gaming side of it, but is also happy to do it, they kind of push me forward to that. Like, I'm comfortable with it. I'm happy to do it, but they kind of encourage that. So just to touch on that, the Athletic thing, like I did just a one-off with them, Athletic podcast, and then like it got a good reception. So now I've maybe done like 10 or 12 like a running series. They've got a Football Manager podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like a regular guest on that, talking about the game, talking about things to that, and even like some of the stuff that don't get highlighted. Like we do something called Careers in Football.
Yeah.
And well, we don't do it. There's a company that does Careers in Football, and they go into different industries with academy players. So they'll take Chelsea under 15s, Arsenal under 13s, bring them to different companies. But they had a good relationship with us.
Yeah.
So I used to run that for Football Manager. So I would have those academy kids come in. We show them, so if you don't make it as a footballer, here are jobs in football that you can do. Here's what we do here. Like they'll spend the day doing that. And like stuff like that, like I find that sick. And obviously with my coaching background, it's something kind of natural to do, you know what I mean?
It's like full circle.
Exactly, man. So there's a lot of stuff like that. Like even this year, with the first year, I did the media rollout for the game. So I did like 12 interviews talking about like the new features and like interviewed with like the Metro. And like to me, that to somebody else, that's nothing in it. Yeah. But to me, I read the Metro on the train on the way to school every day, in it. So I'm like, this is mad. They're quoting me in the Metro kind of thing. So like things like that, and all these gaming magazines, like all of that kind of stuff, just talking about the game. And it was sick for me personally, on a personal level, to kind of put myself out there and do more. Because that's something that I wanted to do more of as well, like in the last couple of years, like building my own personal brand. Because at the end of the day, it is me doing this stuff.
Yeah, bro. And it's quite rare to have a company that you work for where you've got a set role, where they actually allow you to expand out of that role.
It's
like
true,
they let
it's
you
true.
be yourself, go out, yeah, man, represent us as a company, speak to this person, speak to that person. They're happy to let you do it. Shows the confidence that they've got in you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
I was going to say as well, like I was saying, credit to Football Manager, because even the rollouts have been sick, where they're getting like different people to be on social media and say, I don't know if you've seen that, Cardo, like different, when they rolled out FM, they'll have like certain people on Twitter and they'll be like, this new feature is in Football Manager. And it's like just random influencers or
content creators
and stuff. And yeah, man, like I had to take my hat off. I was like, yeah, like that's actually a sick way to roll out your new game.
Now, one thing, you know what a lot of that is? One thing that I rate the company for doing is, like obviously they've got a lot of like old boys in it, like a lot of people that's there, because the game's been out 22 years. Like it's mad.
It's a staple,
it's
bro.
staple,
It's a
innit? So like
staple.
they got a lot of people that have been there 15 years, 20 years, all of that, but they've done good pretty much ever since they like bought like that batch of. But I came back from Lincoln, like from that point onwards, I'd say they've been good in hiring younger, that new generation.
Yeah.
So a lot of people on the comms team, social media team, they're of our age range or younger. They understand that industry
what to tap
rather
into.
than it just being just the older people. Like maybe the people at the top might be the older people, but they listen to the younger people, and like that, you can definitely see the influence of that in there. So I rate that, man.
Nah, man, I rate it too. So there's like, I just want to ask you a few like questions. Obviously, I tweeted out I was sitting down with you. There's some things I want to know for myself.
Yeah.
I know Cardo like wanted to know some things as well because he plays it. Like, I was gonna ask you about like, obviously everyone that works at Football Manager, like, they're normal human beings, isn't it? Is there any like bias with like any of your colleagues where like, you know, I'm a Liverpool fan, so like I'm gonna make, you know, this youth team player a bit better than what maybe he is because like I rate him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
does any bias creep in at any point?
Nah,
Is it allowed?
so what they do is every club will have researchers and especially in the Premier League, like in like other more niche leagues, you might have one researcher for the whole league, but at like Premier League, Championship, there's one per club. So, but they're usually a fan of the club as well. So it's like,
That's a bit techie.
yeah, but at the same
Techie.
time, I think they find pessimistic fans. Like me as an Arsenal fan wearing a Brentford tracksuit, they'll get someone like that doing that.
Yeah.
But you'll see it. Like there'll be players. Sometimes they're overrated, but you're allowed to go in and log. Like you're allowed to say like that's a bug. Like I was talking about bugs. One of the first bugs I logged was Raheem Sterling was underrated. Like you already know how I rep Raheem. Like I was like, this guy, like he won European Golden Boy. Like he should be better. And they was like, no, we don't think. Like the research at the time, I don't even know if he's still there. He was like, I don't think he's gonna go on to do that.
Yeah.
I went back the next year, innit, after he did a 20 goal
I
season.
told you,
I was like, remember what I
told
said? But nah, you can't. Like, could they? I think it's smart that they keep it separate and have a separate research, and then there's even like a head of research above that. But then because I work on the match team, we're probably the only area that gets a little bit of influence over that.
Yeah.
So if we're like, I don't know, Norwich, this isn't a real example, but if we're like Norwich are winning too many games, like because all their players' stamina and work rate and strength are just too high and they're like physically dominant, then like we can like go to the head and maybe make that change.
Yeah.
So like, one time we did make that change was with Bayern. They were so good technically, but they weren't good physically. And then in Germany, like teams like Leipzig and Dortmund were good physically. So Bayern weren't winning the league.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that at the match team, and we're like, you need to improve their physical side of the game. Like I know that you want to give that Sane whatever dribbling, but you need to be quick as well. Like, so like, things like that. But just straight up bias, as in like, I'm an Arsenal fan. People always claim bias in the game, but then I guess football is all about perception, innit, and opinions. Like in game, I think is it Milivojevic, Crystal Palace DM.
Yeah,
he's got like 8 or 9 passing, and I was like, that's awful. Like his passing can't be that bad. But then the Palace fan were telling me, nah, like it's that bad, isn't it? Like, that bad. So I was like, fair enough, innit? So it's always different when you speak to people, innit, who actually support a team, and they always got their own opinions on players.
So you said there's one person per club per league. So how big is like you lot scouting network?
Oh, it's yeah.
And how massive. Are the players? How do they end up being so accurate? Because obviously you're gonna get people disputing, you know, oh, you need to fix this. This player should be better. That player should be worse. But ultimately, you wouldn't have so many people playing the game if it wasn't super accurate. That's one of the things everyone loves about Football Manager. You're always gonna get things that annoy you in every season, whatever club you pick. But how do you end up with this product of it being so accurate? And how, like, what's the budget for your scouting network?
That's a mad thing. Most of the scouts do it for free. Like, there's thousands of scouts, literally thousands of scouts around the world. And a majority of them as well watch the youth games. So that's the thing. They're not just like, oh, yeah, I heard that player's decent. Like, they go watch their youth games. Or they'll even take voluntary stuff. So, like, if I know someone that works at a club, I'll be like, yo, do you want to help out with this scouting? Like, if you work with their under-18s, obviously I've got friends in football that are still in football. I'm like, yo, yeah, come help the FM scout. Like, he might not have this knowledge, but like, it's just people that just really, really know this stuff. So I remember when I first started in like 2016, I think it was 2016, 2017, I sat next to the French researcher. Like, he was a tester as well. He'd moved over from France to like test on the game. Like, blessed guy. And then he was doing Monaco, and then he was like, "Oh, let me show you this youngster at Monaco." And I was like, "I know, like Thomas Lemar, innit? Like, he's sick. Like, I know, innit?" He's like, "Nah." I went to the under-18s. It's like Mbappe.
Oh,
I was like,
mad.
"Who's it?" I was like, "Who's Mbappe?" Like, who's this? Who's Mbappe? Yeah, we all know who Mbappe is now, innit?
Mad.
So like, they really know, and like the amount of times FM has just been bang on point. Like, I remember FM 15, I signed Rashford, 5-star potential. I ain't ever heard of Rashford. And then like a couple of years later, boom, he's like a big player. So like the amount of times like you sign a player who like you've never heard of, more time, like a random Brazilian like Arthur, the one Bayern Juventus one. Like, I had him on FM for when he was in Brazil. Never heard of him. 2 years later, he's in Barcelona. The Brazilian at Lyon, Bruno, didn't know about him 2 years later. Like, he's being linked to all these big clubs. It happens all the time, and
That's how you know it works as well.
yeah,
It's
that's why you
accurate.
know the research is they're on point.
You have to give me some of their numbers, boy. Put some bets on. That's what this. I'm joking.
Shade Football Index died on us, man.
Boy. So I was gonna ask you something, but I'll go to the Twitter question first. So someone called Cameron was asking if there's any plans to like kind of hone in on some of the attributes. So like you've got like passing and shooting or whatever. Is there any plans to like make that a bit more like short passing, long passing?
That's a good question,
like
man.
that?
That's a good question. I can say, like, we literally have thousands of what we call feature requests in the database, like literally thousands. Like, some stuff that will get done for the new version might have been in there for 7 years, and it's not like we're holding back, we don't want to put it out, but sometimes we don't have the technology, not the technology, but like the game isn't in a state where you can add that in. But once we improve maybe the pressing, we can bring in something that someone wanted for pressing, and that is something that people have asked for, like make it a bit more detailed in that, especially like literally that one, short passing and long passing. I couldn't say if it will happen or not. It's not kind of on the horizon, but one thing that I would want myself is for like top level stats to really make a big difference. Like, they make a difference now, but a big difference. So if you've got a De Bruyne with 20 passing, 19 passing, he feels distinctly different to a man with 16 passing, who feels like a big difference to a man with 13 passing.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to bring
sometimes
that.
it doesn't feel like that. Like sometimes you have a man with 13 passing and he's getting 15 assists.
Exactly.
And your guy with 18 passing is getting a lot less, and you're like, what's going on here?
Exactly. So like, I'd love to kind of make that even more powerful. Like, they do make a difference, but what you got to remember as well is, this isn't official, but I always tell myself this, is every stat out of 20 is probably really out of 25. So if someone's got 20 finishing, that means they'll score 20 out of 25 chances. Not 20 out of 20.
Yeah.
And like, we all watch real football. Like,
That's accurate, though.
Ronaldo misses sitters.
Exactly.
Like, every player,
It's
like
football.
look at Messi's season like at PSG. Like, with all them 20s, he should be on 45 goals. Like, how is he not like doing the madness? So it's kind of, you've got to remember the real life side of it as well. But yeah, in terms of, just to answer the question, there is something that could possibly happen in the future, but I would prefer to make it more kind of role specific.
Yeah.
So like, not just as simple as short pass and long passing. I'd love to kind of be like passing from deep areas in the middle of the pitch. What they're passing from, like that De Bruyne half space on the right hand side. Like, in this area, he's killer from that side, but he maybe isn't as good from a deep central position.
Yeah.
Kind of bring it more like that rather than just short and long.
Speaking of roles, you, I'm sure you, I don't want to give you all the credit if I'm wrong, but didn't you come up with the wide centre backs?
Part of the
Position.
group. We were part of the group
Part
that
of the
kind
group
of,
that come up with it.
yeah, we worked on it for a couple of years. I remember we was working on it, and then Sheffield United got promoted, and we was like, shit, everyone's gonna see this now, and we ain't got it in the game yet. But it was alright. We got it in the year after. But yeah, like, that's basically my job: testing roles, making sure the roles play like real life. I remember the Mazzala role when we put that into the games.
Pogba, Juventus.
Yeah, literally, I was literally watching Pogba Juventus clips like all day. Like, that side of the job, I'll say fair enough, that is just fun.
That
innit?
is fun. Sounds fun. Like,
Like, I'm literally spending the whole day just watching Pogba on that Juve, like just ripping it up. Like, it's just fun. But then in terms of testing it, implementing it, making sure they're in the right half space, making sure the right players perform in that role, that's all a bit more technical.
It's even something like like wide centre backs or like overlapping centre backs.
yeah.
I watched how Sheffield United play.
Yeah.
That's something that could easily go wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Most definitely.
Trying to process that into a game. You know,
And you also have to communicate it to the coders as well. So you've got to find a way using videos, using your own experience and your own coaching knowledge to explain how it should play. So we've got to say what's the difference between a wide centre back defend, which should be like Adpilicueta when he like used to do that. Remember Adpilicueta and Morata had that link up. He does it a bit now for Chelsea, where he like crosses from that kind of deep wide position. He wouldn't really go further ahead than that, but he crossed from that deeper position to an attack, for instance, where like you got the Sheffield United guys or
Ben Davies at Spurs.
is a perfect example. Who's hitting the byline almost like with crosses and overlapping the wingers at times. So you've got to like be able to like differentiate and really explain like the nuances between the two. But it's part of the job I enjoy. I've always like my thing with Football Manager, because I was a coach, I used to just play the game to make the sickest tactics and formations I wanted, or try and make new tactics and formations, or replicate stuff I saw in real life. So like actually being able to have an influence, like creative influence on that side of the game is sick for me.
It's feel good, bro. I'm not gonna
definitely
lie.
is,
Like,
man,
anyone that's played Football Manager, like to have an actual input in what's going on and like the game comes out and everyone loves it and you get that sense of like, we done a good job. Like,
but I've seen both sides of it though. Like I've seen where it comes out and people are just hating. People are like, this is rubbish, this don't work. Or even like this year I'd say was probably one of our most successful for quite a while. But then we had the near post corners where like you could just do near post corners and it's a goal. Like people are sending videos on Twitter of like Van Dijk with like 60 goals. And like people, and we're like, shit, like this is a bit mad. So obviously, like there's always gonna be like exploits, and there's always gonna be stuff in the game. And like a lot of my job is to just make as few exploits as possible.
Yeah, it's never gonna be perfect, but you're just trying to like minimalize it.
Yeah.
So lastly, on Football Manager, are there any tips for players of Football Manager with like things that they should maybe focus on or things to ignore? Because I know there's been a number of times I've called you up like, bruv, like I've set my training and it's saying 5 man are unhappy because there's too much strength training, but then these man want more quickness training. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And you're like, bruv, like just ignore that. Like it don't really matter or whatever. But when you're so involved in your season and you want there to be chemistry and harmony, it's like you forget that sometimes. So for other people out there that are playing it, I'm sure they're a lot more versed at it than me and they know these things already. But are there things that are just like, they're there to like just kind of like make it feel real, but they don't actually like really affect your season? And are there things that you should actually really focus on if you want to like win games?
So like that's a good question. Like to answer the kind of not just specific to training, but generally, most things on the game will affect your season, but won't be detrimental, if you know what I mean. So if you've got an unhappy player, cool, play him. Players are unhappy in real life all the time and have to still play. Still play him. If you've got a player that's a bit tired, play him. Like you might have to sub him off, but still play him. Like it won't be detrimental. But in terms of like tactics, which is like what I can speak on with the most knowledge, one, there's no magic tactic in it. People think, oh, you can play this tactic, you'll win. No, you just happen to have the right team for that tactic to work, kind of thing. Like my job week day in, day out is making sure there is no magic tactic. Like they don't work like that. But I'd usually say just keep it simple. Like, I know that sounds boring to say, but it's not always about trying to do the maddest pep tactic that you can with the underlapping here and overlapping on that side. Sometimes just play your tactic that suits your team. Like I always say, play whatever suits the personnel you have. Like I want to play passing out the back, short passing, inverted wingers every game. But if I'm managing a team that ain't got the players for that, I'll play direct, or I won't play out the back if I ain't got defenders that can't pass out the back. And I always use that example of what was it? I can't remember which the ball brother it was now. The one that went to Crystal Palace and he got sacked after 4 games.
Is that Frank?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was. But he tried to play that passing out the back. He didn't have the players for it.
Yeah.
Maybe in 6 months you can transition to that, but you can't just do that overnight.
Yeah.
And like you'll get sacked. It won't work if you try to do that. And it's the same in the game. Like you can't just jump into a job and just try to change the way a team plays overnight or sell the whole squad and bring in a whole new squad. It won't work like that. So like sometimes you just got to kind of take it easy, build your way into your tactics, make a second tactic. So like have your main tactic as something simple. There is a mad gegenpress that you want to play, have that as your second tactics, let them learn that over time, then transition to that later in the season. But man, be smart with the roles and the game doesn't like lie to you with like if it says a player can't play a role, he probably can't play that role.
Yeah.
If he says he's good in this role, he's probably good in that role. And don't dismiss the basic roles either. Like I use a centre mid defend. Like I want a centre mid that defends. It doesn't.
I'm not gonna lie, that catches me because it's so appealing to like use like a centre mid, like
Mazzala,
or one of these fancy ones.
Like sometimes
I rarely use like automatic centre mid.
Like, I use automatic wing backs all the time. That's like chill with it. Just do your wing back thing. You don't need to do them. I don't need you to be attacking all the time.
Yeah.
And look at your highlights. Don't play on key if you don't have to. I know not everyone wants to play on extended. Sometimes it's long. Like even I'm playing on like key just because I want to get through my season.
Yeah.
But like at work, I only play on comprehensive or full match. So like it's long in it. But there's a lot of stuff in those highlights that will show you why your team's doing good or bad. So sometimes if you're not seeing why your team's not performing, go to extended highlights in it and take it in a bit more and kind of get a better view of your team.
I hear that, man. I've had some mares where like outside of tactics, like a player will approach me for a conversation, I'll say the wrong thing, and before I know it, he wants to be transfer listed.
Yeah.
Those are like the only times I'll be like, oh, might just have to just quit this one and load it back up before this conversation happened. You said there's literally no magic formation, and it's more based on the players.
Yeah, like if you've got the players that suit how you're trying to play, a lot of the time you'll do well. It's like, even if you look at, say, like Man City and Liverpool, Pep has players that suit Pep style. Liverpool have players that suit Klopp style, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you try switching the players around the different tactics, they might not perform to the same level. So people get surprised when they do gegenpress with Liverpool and it does well, or tiki-taka with Man City and it does well. But as long as you've got the players that suit the way you're trying to play and your style, and you're playing players in the roles that they can actually kind of perform in, then a lot of the time you'll do well. It's when you're trying to do something that's a bit too different and a bit too crazy for
like you said, keep it simple.
Yeah, man, keep it simple. I know it might sound boring at times, but yeah, just keep it simple and keep it to what your players are good at, and more time you do well.
Because there's people online that are like adamant certain formations will always bang.
But like, don't get me wrong, you play a three strikers, and your three strikers are Haaland and Mbappe, and
you're gonna do bits.
You're gonna smash someone up. But if your three strikers are maybe three like Norwich strikers, and you're playing as Norwich, you might not smash it. So sometimes you're gonna have to play defensive if you've got a defensive team. But sometimes if you're trying to play defensive with a team that maybe isn't the best defensive team, you ain't gonna score goals. Like even real life, you saw Watford this season. Like Ranieri came in, he tried to do the defensive thing. It wasn't really working. He started attacking, playing Dennis and King and trying to score goals. It made a difference because his strength is in attacking, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it's all about making a motor your personnel. Nah,
man, that makes sense. I wanted to just touch on, before we wrap up, obviously, alongside the Football Manager stuff, you started V-Gang Reviews on Instagram. How long ago was that?
Just over a year now, so probably like coming up to a year and a half.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Bro, I was looking at your Instagram, you've got like nearly 200 posts, bro, and like 5k followers, and you guys are doing well, because I know you linked up with Plant Boys.
Yeah, man, shout out Plant Boys.
Yeah, man, like kind of spearheading the vegan industry right now, I would say. Obviously, I'm not too involved in that industry, but from what I'm seeing online, man, you guys are going in, you're working with companies like Wagamama and Tortilla and all of this, so congratulations to you lot, man. Definitely. But yeah, man, like I said, like I mainly wanted to get you on here just to celebrate the fact that I feel like you've patterned life. I felt like you would be a sick guest for this podcast.
Appreciate it.
Because everything you've done has had like purpose, you get me, and it's got you to where you're at now. And I feel like that's something that I want to drill into anyone that's watching this podcast.
100%.
It's never too late to kind of enter certain industries, do things that make you happy and like fulfill you on a daily, that you can get some kind of income from. You get me? So I commend you for that, bro.
Thank you, bro, man. I appreciate it highly. Like I always say, man, life, you just got to kind of follow your passions, innit? Like you got to do what you enjoy. Obviously, it might not be that for everyone. Like even if you work a job that's like you ain't got a love for, do something you enjoy outside of your job, innit? Make sure somewhere in your life, out of that 24 hours, that you're doing something that fulfills what you want to do, you get me? Because if you just spend your life just grinding, you ain't gonna enjoy it, man.
Exactly.
So yeah, man. Makes a big thing.
Nah, man, thank you for coming on. If there's any like young people watching us that want to get into the gaming industry,
Shout me, man.
yeah, man, shout him.
Or give advice. I'll give advice, man. Follow me Twitter, Ramson CJ. Shout me on Vegan. Got any vegan questions, vegan reviews? Hit us up, man. We're doing a lot of stuff, like just trying to kind of push, like even the vegan stuff, just trying to push stuff that I believe in, that I'm passionate about, and just put it out there. You know what I'm saying?
And I think with that, it could be a coincidence, but I feel like you've got into that industry at a time where it's booming. You get me? And I feel like 2, 3, 4 years from now, that's going to be another major source of income for you. And it's not something where you're working for someone else or, you get me, like day to day, you're not enjoying it. It's stuff that you're passionate about. So again, like if you're watching this, like obviously you have to graft. Sometimes you're going to want to do stuff that you may not enjoy on a day to day, but have something alongside that you're passionate about. Don't be afraid to take opportunities in industries that you may feel you've got skills in, but never thought you could get a job in. Because you get me, you're a perfect example that you just never know where you could end up. You get me? So yeah, man, that was episode 3.
Love, bro. Thanks for having me.
Can't Stop, Won't Stop. Too Rare to Die. TooRareLondon.com. You know where we're at. And we'll be back again with another special guest.
Can't stop, won't stop.